Ciao a tutti, bentornati sul mio canale. My name's Kaya and welcome to this video. This is my first video that I'm filming for Yes Milano or Visit Milano. I'm Kaya, I'm from Sydney, Australia, and today I'm going to be making a video about all the cultural shocks that I noticed, or at least some of the cultural shocks that I noticed coming from Australia and moving to Milan. So it would only make sense to start off with the first cultural shock that I noticed. Coming from my first day when I arrived here in 2019 to study, I remember the first thing that I noticed that really shocked me was the lifestyle and how the shops close in the middle of the day. I mean, not so much in Milan, things tend to stay open, but especially on Sundays and throughout the whole of Italy, things tend to close in the middle of the day for a certain amount of time. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this would never happen in Australia, and I had to stop myself in my tracks and just remind myself, Kaya, you're not in Australia, and this is, you know, this is La Dolce Vita. You hear that saying thrown around a lot about Italy and how they kind of stop in the middle of the day to have lunch, and they like to keep lunch as their main meal of the day. So it's usually like a big meal, and they usually stop for about an hour. Sometimes things close during the day, and oftentimes this is something that you're going to have to get used to when you're coming to Italy. So that's the first difference that I noticed, and the first thing that I thought I would mention in this video. So with everything that I'm talking about, every little point that I'm going to make, I'm going to take you to a different area of Milan because I thought it would be a really nice way to show you guys the city. I'd bring you guys, before I went to my next destination, I've just stopped for a little coffee and croissant. I'm just here at a bar, excuse the noise, I'm just here at a bar near Duomo, so I'm going to head there after, but I'm going to head into another shock that I noticed, and that's all about the food rules. So they say in Italy that you're not meant to order a cappuccino after 11 AM. So it's after 11 AM here now, and I've just stopped for un caffè normale, un cornetto. And I remember I was in Rome, and we went out for dinner, and I remember after dinner I wanted to get a coffee, and so I ordered a cappuccino, and the guy looked at me like I was so weird, like I was an alien, like I definitely did not belong there. So this is generally considered what would be like a classic Italian breakfast. It's super small, even though it's like in between breakfast and lunch right now. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. So I'm having the classic Italian breakfast, which I'm quite accustomed to now. I wasn't used to it at first because usually in Australia we would have like a bigger breakfast and a smaller lunch, and in Italy it's the other way around. So you have like a really small breakfast and then lunch is much bigger. So I'm going to finish my breakfast now, and I'll take you to Duomo to discuss the next shock. Through one of the main kind of shopping areas in Milan, it only made sense to talk about something that Italians take very seriously, and that is fashion and clothing rules, so dressing. One thing that I noticed when I first moved here to Milan is that in the summertime, I remember I was walking around the city and I was wearing flip-flops, like thongs. That's what they call them, flip-flops here in Italy. In Australia we call them thongs. But I noticed that whenever I would wear them out in public, or like sandals, like open-toed shoes out in the city, unless you're at the beach and you're actually like going swimming and you need to have no shoes on, don't wear thongs out in public because they take their fashion very, very seriously, and it's seen as kind of dirty if you're wearing thongs kind of around the regular city centre. So my tip for any foreigners coming to Milan from a place like Australia is to not wear thongs out in the city centre. Before I ended off this video was the last shock, which is that Italians are quite superstitious. I remember this particularly stood out to me when I was studying at uni, and they would have a bunch of different rules that they would follow based on the specific university that it was in question. So I went to Cattolica, and one of the rules that they had was that you couldn't walk through the courtyard straight through. You had to either like do a little detour, you couldn't go straight through, otherwise what they said was that you wouldn't graduate. So they have different rules based on which universities you go to, and it changes like university to university, but in general it's not even just university life. In general they are quite superstitious people, like even little things like the black cat, seeing a black cat in the streets, it's seen as really, really bad luck. Having like 13 people sitting around a table is bad luck as well. And also if you're sweeping the floor and someone hits your feet with the broom, then the person whose feet were hit by the broom is considered to have bad luck. So before I end off today's video, I just wanted to give a couple of mentions for you guys to go and follow. So my Instagram, which is just @KaiaLove, I'll pop it up on the screen here, and my YouTube channel, which is just Kaia Love as well. And if you guys could go follow Visit Milano on Instagram. They have some amazing photos of Milan, probably some of the best that I've seen in terms of tourism photos. So go and check out their Instagram page and visit yesmilano.it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye!